Hello, I'm John from OWC, and today we're going to talk about Apple's Unleashed event and the new M1 Pro and M1 Max MacBook Pros available today. I've been a touring videographer and photographer for bands for many years, and I've edited in some weird places, on dining room tables, on airplanes, waiting to board flights, and I've always needed more power and more connectivity and capability to keep up with my workflow and sort of the rigors of being on the road. And for the first time in a while, I feel really seen by Apple. Apple dropped some serious performance on the world at the Unleashed event, and their original M1 chips, which was the new architecture, they're insane. And they just got more insaner. It finally feels like Apple is back with a machine made specifically for professionals. It reminds me of the first time I bought a MacBook Pro, and I was excited to use it. I was inspired to get to work. Apple says it best when they say, choose your size, choose your chip, and let it rip. Basically, Apple is giving you the opportunity to build a machine tailored to the way you want to work. And what I find really interesting, and what's not normally the case, is that you can spec out the 14-inch or the 16-inch to basically the same configuration. Screen size, weight, and battery life are basically going to be the main differences here. And then within that, it's going to be the question whether you want the M1 Pro or the M1 Max. Starting with the new processors, Apple's new silicon really makes a difference. Bigger's better, and they're more efficient. So M1 Pro, M1 Max, looking pretty cool. While Apple doesn't necessarily benchmark these machines against their previous machines, they do give some examples and context. Apple says that the 16-inch MacBook Pro with the M1 Max will be able to stream 7 8K streams of ProRes simultaneously. Playing 7 8K streams of ProRes at the same time is bonkers, especially when I'm frustrated with my old MacBook Pro trying to get one stream of 8K to play properly. They really didn't hold back on this one. It feels like we're listing specs from a Mac Pro that fits in a backpack. At the Apple Unleashed event, they announced welcome battery improvements. Battery capabilities are getting better, and Apple is capitalizing on that for these new MacBook Pros. The 14-inch offers up to 17 hours of video playback, and the 16-inch is claiming 21 hours of video playback. So these are pretty impressive numbers and definitely an increase from the previous models. Imagine yourself, you're working as a video editor, you're traveling, you're working on a deadline, you have to get your edit done before this flight lands, you get on the flight attendant says, "We're sorry, the power outlets are not working on this flight." With the new MacBook Pros, it seems like you'll be able to open up your NLE and get in there and edit some video, get some work done before you land. Bigger battery, better, longer life is a good thing. The question here is, how are they going to keep this all cool? This much processing power just creates heat. It's the bottom line. Two things that Apple is doing to combat this. Their new fans are supposedly capable of moving 50% more air, so that's good, more air, cooler. And the new chips are just more efficient, so they say that the fans won't even turn on for a majority of tasks. It's going to be a great respite from the 747 fans that I have on my lap with my old MacBook Pro. Just like with the M1 Max, people are going to have to adjust their familiarity with the amount of RAM necessary to tackle larger projects. You'll have to become more accustomed to the unified memory architecture that's shipping with these new Apple chips. The new M1 Pro and M1 Max continue this more efficient way of handling onboard memory and extend this out to 64 gigabytes of unified memory. So this is likely not a necessity for the average user. These types of investments are going to be important for future-proofing your machines if you're doing video, photo, audio editing workflows. Super cool upgrade that's available with these machines is 8 terabytes of internal SSD, which writes at 7.4 gigabytes a second. It's really big, it's really fast, it's really expensive. It's $2,200 to upgrade this internal memory. Now, maybe it's just me, but I don't really need that much internal storage on my machine. I'm going to be working on external hard drives while I'm on the road, and then when I get home, I'm going to be offloading and archiving everything to a Thunder Bay RAID, which I keep on my desk. I think the likely scenario is most creators are going to go for the 1 terabyte internal SSD. They're going to work off external hard drives. That saved money on internal SSDs can go towards memory or processor power or, coffee. For creatives that are working in hybrid in and out of office scenarios, you could save that money that you didn't spend on internal SSD. You could purchase some sort of dock. This way, when you're out on the road, you can use those ports that Apple so graciously gave us back, but when you get back into the office, you can connect easily to your monitors, your drives, your RAIDs. At the Apple event, we learned about the new displays, which received a lot of love from the MacBook Pro team. Both machines get the Liquid XDR screen with Pro Motion for the first time on the Mac, with adaptive refresh rates up to 120 Hz. All this will lead to blacker blacks and more vibrant colors, more detail in the shadows for video editors and colorists, and smooth scrolling for the average user. Photographers will have more control over their images and likely more accuracy with print production. The amount of pixels these machines can display is staggering. Again, rivaling the capabilities of the desktop Mac Pro, the 16-inch with the M1 Max can support up to 3 6K XDR displays and another 4K display, or 2 XDRs with the M1 Pro. This is some serious capability for video editors, photographers, game designers, anyone that needs more screen real estate. It's here for you. Ports are back. Apple hooked us up with ports. The fact that they got rid of the touch bar and brought ports back is really evidence that Apple is listening to its pro community, and they realized it was time to make a change. So these MacBook Pros have 3 Thunderbolt 4 ports. We got an enhanced headphone jack that handles high impedance professional headphones. We have a full-size HDMI port. We have an SDXC card slot, and my personal favorite, the MagSafe is back. So, pretty cool feature of the new MagSafe charger is that just the cable that runs to your computer is replaceable. So, if your dog chews through the cable, you don't have to replace the whole brick. You can replace just the cable. So, this is all pretty big for creatives. I think, especially the SD slot. Imagine yourself a photographer out in the field, already saddled down with a backpack full of heavy DSLR gear and lenses, tripods, and you have to go dig through your bag to find your SD reader. Not the case anymore. The keyboard gets a little bit of a redesign as well. We lose the touch bar, but we get full height function keys akin to the earlier MacBook Pros. I don't know, maybe not everyone will agree, but I think this is a welcome change. I'm not the biggest fan of the older MacBook Pro keyboards. The feel was just never there for me, so this is a subtle change that I think I'm really gonna enjoy. RIP to the touch bar. It's gone, and good riddance, in my opinion. I don't know. It wasn't for me. I never really found any use for it. Curious if you guys were using it in any cool or creative ways. If you were, drop a note in the comments, let us know. Are you gonna miss it? Are you sad it's gone? Are you happy you're getting your function keys back? Let us know. Okay, let's address the notch in the room. Right, if you're on the internet, which you are, you've seen that there's a notch on the new MacBook Pro. Yeah, it's ugly, right? We get it. It's not Apple's finest design moment. They love a notch. They love to squeeze something in there. If you're spending $3, $4, $5, maybe even $6,000 on a laptop, you need the performance. The notch is not going to get in the way. And chances are you're using this in a professional setting, and you probably have at least one external monitor. So, you know, notch, ugly. Does it matter? Not really. It does look like you actually get a little bit more usable screen space with that design. They trimmed down the bezels, the notch is there, the menu bar sort of lives in that zone. I'm surprised they didn't include Face ID in there, but sort of based on the way they dealt with the iPhone, maybe Apple will include Face ID on the next iteration and make the notch 20% smaller. I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. The webcam was long overdue for an improvement. They brought it up to 1080p and it's got 2 times the light sensitivity. We're all on Zooms right now, we're all sort of FaceTiming, we're pitching over the web. It's better to look better. If you don't have an external web camera, this is going to be an improvement. I don't want to go too much into the specifics of the chargers, especially because we don't have one of these yet, but I'm imagining that 140 watt charger that comes with the 16-inch MacBook Pro is going to be pretty hefty. Big batteries, big power. There's not much you can do about that. It's like physics. Whether you go with the base model 14-inch M1 Pro or a kitted out, fully loaded 16-inch M1 Max, these are fantastic computers that can handle a ton. Realistically, the base model 14-inch M1 Pro is going to be an upgrade for most people watching, but for those who beefed out their MacBook Pros pre-2019, you're probably going to want to do it again. I think your decision is going to come down to basically budget versus future-proofing, and luckily this time Apple has at least given us creatives a little bit more of what we need. I am curious when an iMac Pro or a 27-inch iMac is going to enter the conversation, outfitted with these new, faster chips. Also, you gotta expect Apple to add these M1 Pro and M1 Max chips to their Mac Pro desktop. For that, we'll just have to wait and see. Apple did what people were asking for. It made a machine truly for professionals. It has incredible, groundbreaking chip technology and prosumer and professional-friendly features on the outside. The M1 Pro and the M1 Max laptops are available now. I'm excited to get my hands on one and try to stream 7 8K streams of ProRes at the same time. Alright, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and from everyone here at OWC, thank you. We'll see you next time.